Cape Verde, the islands that dare to dream, from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean to the biggest stage on earth. Welcome to Ballafrica, the podcast where African football is not measured merely by trophies and statistics. It's measured by courage, by sacrifice, by resilience, and by dream. Today, we'll tell the story of one of Africa's most remarkable journeys. A story that reminds us that greatness is not determined by population size. It is not determined by wealth. It is not determined by history. Greatness is determined by belief. Belief is part of what greatness is all about. Today, we travel to the small chain of islands scattered across the Atlantic Ocean, a nation of just over 500,000 people, a nation many football fans barely know 20 years ago, a nation that has quickly become one of Africa's greatest football success stories. Today, we talk about Cape Verde, Cabo Verde, the Blue Sharks. And as they prepare for their historic appearance at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, they arrive carrying one of the most inspiring stories in modern football. Because sometimes football's greatest miracles come through the places nobody expects, the nation in the ocean. Imagine growing up on an island hundreds of miles from mainland Africa, far from the giant football powers, far from the spotlight, far from the resources enjoyed by football elite. This is Cape Verde, an archipelago of 10 volcanic islands sitting in the Atlantic Ocean. For decades, football in Cape Verde was mostly local, passionate, raw, full of talent, but largely invisible to the world. Most people outside of Africa could not locate Cape Verde on the map. Many football fans had never heard of this national team before. Yet, football was alive. Children played in the neighborhoods overlooking the ocean. Dreams were born on dusty fields. And quickly, a football identity began to emerge. An identity built on determination. An identity built on community. An identity built on refusing to accept limitations. The early years of this success story is incredible. For much of its football history, Cape Verde was considered an underdog, a team expected to participate, not compete, a team expected to struggle against African giants, not challenge them. Victories were rare, resources were limited, infrastructure lagged behind larger nations. Qualification campaigns often ended before they truly began. Yet, people never stopped believing. Every generation contributed. Every setback became a lesson. Every defeat became motivation. And slowly, something extraordinary began to happen. Cape Verde started improving. Year after year, game after game, dream after dream. Then there was the rise of the Blue Sharks. Then came the breakthrough, the moment when Africa began paying attention. In the early 2010s, Cape Verde transformed from minions into contenders. Players from the diaspora began strengthening the national team. European-born Cape Verdeans embraced their roots. The talent pool expanded. The confidence grew. And suddenly, Africa had a new surprise package, the new kid on the block. In 2013, Cape Verde qualified for their first African Cup of Nations. Many expected them to simply enjoy the experience. Instead, they shocked the continent. They reached the quarterfinals. The football world took notice. Who were these Blue Sharks? Where had they come from? And how had this tiny island nation become so competitive? The answer was simple. Believe. Believe indeed. Proving it was no accident. Many teams enjoyed one magical tournament. Few sustained success. Cape Verde sustained success. They continued qualifying for major tournaments, continued earning respect, continued proving that their rise was not a fluke. Every year, they became stronger, more organized, more confident, more dangerous. Opponents stopped viewing them as underdogs. Instead, they became a team nobody wanted to face because Cape Verde played without fear. And football has always rewarded fearless teams. But then there was always moments of trials and tribulations. As we know, success never comes without struggle. Cape Verde's journey has been filled with obstacles, limited resources, travel challenges, small player pools, infrastructure disadvantages, and the constant battle of competing against nations many times larger. There were painful qualification failures, near misses, heartbroken eliminations, moments when dreams seemed impossible, moments when critiques predicted the rise was over. But every time adversity arrived, Cape Verde responded. Not with excuses, but with determination. Because the Blue Sharks understood something powerful. When you come from a small nation, nobody gives you opportunities. You must earn and grab them. Then the road to history began. Then came the journey that changed everything. The road to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Every match mattered. Every point mattered. Every goal mattered. They entered qualification knowing the challenge ahead of them, the monumental task of qualifying. The continent was crowned with giants: Nigeria, Morocco, Egypt, Senegal, Ghana, Tunisia, Algeria, Cameroon. Yet the Blue Sharks refused to be intimidated. Match after match, they fought. Match after match, they believed. Match after match, they surprised. And slowly, history came into view. The impossible began feeling possible. The dream began feeling real. And then it happened. Cape Verde qualified for the FIFA World Cup over the giants, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. For the first time, the tiny island nation had done it. One of the smallest countries ever to reach football's biggest stage, a moment generations had dreamt about, a moment that united islands across the Atlantic, a moment that proved that size means nothing when belief is bigger than fear. What does this mean? Let's pause for a minute. Because this achievement is bigger than just football. Cape Verde has a population of roughly 600,000 people. Some cities around the world are larger than the entire country, yet they are competing against football superpowers, standing alongside giants, representing Africa on the global stage. Their qualification sends a message to every small nation, to every underdog, to every dreamer. Your limitations do not define you. Your courage does. The World Cup is going to be a challenge. What is this challenge? Now comes the ultimate test. The brightest lights, the biggest audiences, the most monstrous stadiums in the world, the highest pressure. For many teams, merely qualifying would be enough, but not for Cape Verde, because football history teaches us something. The teams that make the biggest impact are often those with nothing to lose. Cape Verde enters this tournament carrying freedom. Nobody expects them to win the World Cup. Nobody expects them to dominate the World Cup. Nobody expects them to be dominant, but that's exactly what makes them dangerous. Every opponent knows they cannot underestimate the Blue Sharks, because underdogs become dangerous when they stop fearing giants. The players who carry this team are worth talking about. Every generation needs heroes. Every story needs leaders. Cape Verde's squad is filled with players who understand the magnitude of this moment. Some grew up in the islands. Others grew up abroad, but never forget their roots. Together, they represent something beautiful, a nation connected across oceans. And this team is actually a team, a nation united by football, a nation whose greatest strength is its collective spirit, its team spirit, its spirit of oneness. This is not merely a team, it is a family, and families fight for each other. The expectations for this tournament are realistic. What do we expect from Cape Verde at this tournament? Realistically, advancing from the group stage would be a remarkable achievement. Reaching the knockout rounds would become one of Africa's great football stories. Anything beyond that would be legendary. But perhaps the better question is, why not? If others have, why not Cape Verde? Every World Cup produces surprises. Every tournament creates heroes. Every generation witnesses the impossible. Why can't Cape Verde be this year's surprise? Why can't they become the team everyone falls in love with? Why can't they write one of football's greatest Cinderella stories? Football has taught us repeatedly that miracles happen, and the Blue Sharks have already performed one of those miracles. This is a clear message to this team. This is a clear message to the Blue Sharks. To the players representing Cape Verde, remember where you come from. Remember the islands. Remember the children watching. Remember the families who sacrificed. Remember the generations who dreamed of this day. You are not carrying pressure. You are carrying history. You are carrying hope. You are carrying proof that dreams are worth chasing. And no matter what happens at this World Cup, you have already changed your nation forever. As the 2026 FIFA World Cup begins, millions will focus on football's traditional giants, the favorites, the superstars, the powerhouses, the big names. But somewhere amongst them stands Cape Verde, a small nation with a giant heart, a team built on resilience, a team built on belief, a team built on dreams. And perhaps this is why football is the world's greatest game. Because every once in a while, a nation comes from the middle of the ocean and reminds us that anything's possible. The Blue Sharks have arrived. The world is watching, and history is waiting. I am Easy Lise. This is Ballafrica. Until then, keep believing in African football, because the next great football story may come from the place nobody saw coming. And this year, that place just might be Cape Verde, Cabo Verde. Thanks.